Yes, sir. Welcome back to the Dropping Dimes podcast by J.I. Dimes. And for today's episode, we will be talking about the Detroit Pistons. Okay, so we'll be talking about the Pistons. Yes, for today's episode, we will be talking about the Detroit Pistons. They finished third to the last in the East. Again, for those who want to follow us on or follow the podcast, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also catch the pod on Anchor and Spotify. There are exclusive episodes that are only available on Anchor and Spotify, such as the loyalty episode and also the most recent, the Derrick Rose episode. So if you want to catch that, you can check it out on Anchor and Spotify. There are also exclusive episodes on YouTube, such as the team preview series that we're having now. So let's proceed. Okay, so these are the main storylines for the Detroit Pistons. So we have Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose, the two key veterans who are returning to the team. We don't really know about their future. Will they be traded? They also added Jeremy Grant from the Denver Nuggets, who had a magnificent playoff run. Then they drafted the point guard from France, who was regarded by the Ringers, arguably the most complete player in the draft, in Killian Hayes. And then, of course, surprisingly, they also added LiAngelo Ball. So those are the main storylines for the Detroit Pistons. So let's now proceed to their numbers last year. They were, as mentioned, they were 13th in the Eastern Conference with a 20-46 record. Dwayne Casey, the former coach of the year, was their coach and is still their coach. Their GM is no longer Ed Stefanski. Now, when we look at the numbers of the Pistons, as expected, Dwayne Casey led teams are very good defensive teams. So they were 15th in the league. Their offensive rating was 21st, and they were just 22nd on their defensive rating. The expected win-loss for them was 26-40, so they obviously underperformed. And because they weren't winning, just like with the other teams that we have talked about, they were just like 28th in league attendance. They weren't also invited anymore to play in the bubble. Now let's look at the schedule of the Pistons. So they'll be playing 4 preseason games, 2 against the Knicks. This will be at home at the Little Caesars Arena. And then they will be going to Washington to play Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, and the New Look Wizards at Capital One Arena. Okay, so those are the preseason games for the Detroit Pistons. Now let's proceed to their key additions. They have tons of key additions. They added Jeremy Grant. Okay, that was good, but I just didn't know if 60 million for Jeremy Grant. They also added Mason Plumlee, who was a teammate of Jeremy Grant in Denver. Then they added Josh Jackson to, well, they call them reclamation projects, and Josh Jackson and Jaleel Okafor. Josh Jackson was the 4th pick in the 2016 draft. Jaleel Okafor was the 3rd pick in the 2015 draft. Both have struggled, but the Pistons want to give them a chance. Then they acquired Jonan Musa. They also got Delon Wright, the former Raptor, former Mavs. They acquired him. They also signed their second round pick last year, Davidas Servidis. who's known to be a three-point shooter. He's very young. I think he signed a 3-year deal. And then they gave LiAngelo Ball another, of course, the complete LeVar Ball's plan of having all his sons in the NBA. LiAngelo was signed a non-guaranteed 1-year contract, and then they drafted Killian Hayes in the lottery and also got Villanova Sadiq Bey. Okay, so practically like a new team for the Pistons. As if we will look at their key returning players, these are their only key returning players. We have Blake Griffin, Derrick Rose. We don't even know about their future, so I don't know about that. If it's really gonna be like Blake Griffin, Derrick Rose for the whole season, they might get traded either in the trade deadline or during the trade deadline or maybe before that. Okay, and then aside from that, of course, they're looking forward to seeing Siku Dimbuya, their first round pick last year, to continue developing. They still have Svi Mikhailuk formerly from the Lakers. He did play well. He shot the ball well last year, so he's one of their key returning players. Now, let's go to their stats. Courtesy of basketballreference.com. So let's look at their team stats. So they were 25th in points. So let's look at their basic stats. Comes to their field goal percentage, they were 18th in the league. Their 3-point percentage was pretty good. They were 11th. Okay, and then rebounding. You know, even when they traded away Andre Drummond, this really suffered a lot. They were like 30th. Assists, they were pretty good at 16th. And then steals and blocks, not so much, at 21st and 22nd. Now let's look at their defense. This is where Dwayne Casey teams are really known for. So if you would really look at it, ironically, the opposing teams actually shot really well against them, 48%. And then, so that was like 28th in the league. And then rebounding, let's focus on the rebounding. At least the opponents didn't rebound as much against them, even though they weren't like rebounding as well. And then the points, they were 15th. So okay, that's decent, I suppose. That's, you know, for a team that didn't make the playoffs, that's pretty decent defense. And now let's go to their advanced stats. As mentioned, the attendance wasn't good. They were only 28th. Their offensive rating, they were 21st, and their defensive rating, they were 22nd. Now, for their pace, they were only 28th. And like, if we're gonna look back and, you know, if you didn't really know what happened to Blake and to Derrick Rose, you'll be okay, kind of wondering why is it that they have Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin and yet they're just 28th in pace. It's because a lot of things changed, and we know that Dwayne Casey teams are not really, you know, even when he was with the Raptors, they weren't like running a lot. So that's kind of expected. Now let's proceed to their individual stats. Now this will be even weirder in a sense. Yeah, because there's really like no point in talking about these individual stats because most of these guys are gone. Andre Drummond got traded. Luke Kennard got traded. Blake Griffin had a down year. Injury-laden year. He averaged only 15 and a half. 4.7 rebounds. You know, Andre Drummond was their double-double machine. They traded him to Detroit. To Cleveland, rather. Luke Kennard has been traded as well. Bruce Brown is no longer with them. Tony Snell is no longer with them. They waived Reggie Jackson. Langston Galloway is not with them anymore. Brandon Knight. Yeah, Keith Morris won a championship with the Lakers. Christian Wood is also not with them. He's with the Rockets. Now, so we're looking at Derrick Rose, who averaged 18 and 5.6 assists. A lot of interest from a lot of teams like the Lakers. So will they trade him there? I don't know. Christian Wood is gone, so we don't need to talk about him. Let's look at Dembuya. Dembuya's numbers. He's from France, as expected from a young 18-year-old. Field goal percentage are very low at 39%. 3-point shooting 28.6%, average 6.4 points and 3 rebounds. Of course, they're hoping he would continue developing. Svi, at least for Svi, he did shoot 40.4% from 3 and average 9 points. So that's kind of promising for the former Kansas Jayhawk and also the former Laker. Okay, so now let's go to our thoughts and predictions. There you go. So thoughts and predictions for the Pistons. This is obviously like a rebuilding scenario for them. You know, they have a new GM. I don't really know if Dwayne Casey is gonna be there still, because there's, sometimes, GMs want their own coaches as well. And then the uncertainty of the futures of both Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin. So looking at the way they constructed the team, I'm just really baffled by the way, they got Grant. Okay, fine. They want a guy who can, be versatile for them, play a lot of positions, guard, hit the three, guard multiple positions as well. And then they added Mason Plumlee. Okay, understandably, he played decent for the Nuggets. But then, adding guys like Josh Jackson, Jaleel Okafor, so do they just want to give these guys a look? If they're really serious about Killian Hayes, maybe they want Derrick Rose to kind of mentor him a bit. And then before they give him the ball, and the keys to the team, right? So I don't know. I don't know if Dwayne Casey is up for that. They have a lot of rookies. So this is really looking like a rebuilding season, very much a rebuilding season. So I don't see them. My best case scenario for them is for them to end up at 13th again. Worst case scenario is for them to end up last in the East. I just don't see them winning a lot of games. They're obviously focusing more on developing young guys, taking a chance on guys who were former lottery picks, and hoping that these guys would find their, or how do I put it, maybe regain some of their confidence and start playing better, something like that. Okay, so I'm not too high on the Pistons. I think best case scenario for them 13th. Worst case scenario 15th in the East, and I'm expecting them to eventually trade Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose. Okay, so let's now go to our just quick shout outs. Shout out to Patrick Vault, who's been my former student. He's been very supportive, like in all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Also Carl Malilin, who's also my former student. He's no longer just my former student. He's now a bona fide biologist. So thank you also for supporting the podcast. Okay, so let's now go to this one. Okay, so if you like the episode, again, kindly like and share the video over here. There you go. Not making mistakes anymore. So there. So like and share the video. And then you can also subscribe. Or after you've liked and shared, you can share your thoughts by commenting. And then, of course, please do not forget to subscribe. And then if you want to follow, you can hit on the notification bell you want to follow all the videos on our YouTube channel. So as I've said, there are also episodes that are exclusively available on Anchor and Spotify if you want to check them out. Okay, so again, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the episode again or the Pistons, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Dropping Dimes podcast. This is J.I. Dimes, and we'll see you next time. Keep safe, everyone.